Okay, I would like to thank everybody for joining us at the question and answer session. We'll have around 15 minutes, and I would like to get through as many questions as we can. I can see some questions starting to come in here, and some have been submitted. So let's get started with the first question. This is a question maybe to Beverly from Ulster Corbett. Do you have any tips, advice for recruiting graduates?
Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, I suppose firstly I would say advertise widely and jump onto the back of the awareness campaigns that Invest NI run around the Graduate to Export programme. I'd also say timing and momentum is really important. So now is the perfect time to be recruiting for graduates as they start to finish off their courses or they start to come home, and just keep momentum behind your recruitment process. If you can take them from any discipline, that would be great. Plenty of graduates are really capable of adapting to export markets. And in terms of your interview questions, I would say try to base them on scenario type questions that would demonstrate their potential, rather than looking at experience-based questions that they might just not be able to answer yet. So scenario-based questions so they can demonstrate their thought process around how they would tackle a particular challenge.
Okay, Beverly, that's great. Thanks. That's really good advice. A question in here on Going Dutch. Maybe Brian, you could answer this one for us. In your experience, did you find the Netherlands to be relatively friendly market for early stage exporters such as Delhi Lights?
Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, we actually did find it very friendly. The Going Dutch was an excellent program for us. It was very friendly. We made feel very welcome, and our products were well received. But I think the preparation we did in advance sort of helped that, because we went into the meetings prepared. We had the presentation done. We knew what we were going to talk about, and we kept an open mind. Although we had an idea of what products we needed to sell and what we wanted to sell, so they were fairly welcoming of the fact that we were focused, and we had an idea of the products we wanted to sell and where we wanted to sell them, so that helped. And once the Dutch realised that you were very focused and serious, and made eye contact with them in the meetings and shook hands and all that, it just was very welcome indeed. They took us around, we went for dinner, and we did lots of different things that we didn't expect, but yeah, absolutely, felt very welcome and very well received when we got to the market. So yeah, all positive.
Great, Brian. There's another one in for Going Dutch. How much does it cost to participate on the programme? Sandra, do you want to take that one?
Hi, Glenn. Yes. So the cost of participation is £1,000 plus VAT per company, and that includes your complete participation on the programme, your attendance at all the group workshops, your one-to-one mentoring and consultancy, and also the 3-day or 3-night, if you like, group market visits. So we will organise the flights and the accommodation for participants. 2 company participants or representatives can actually participate on the programme right through all the sessions and all the learning elements and so on, but the programme actually only covers the cost of one delegate's travel and accommodation. And we can, if you do want a second employee to join, they can pay that at their expense. And a lot of companies do actually take up that option. The other thing as well is, in addition to the program, in order really to encourage companies to keep up the momentum, we also include a fully funded follow-up visit within 12 weeks of the initial market group visit. And that covers, again, 3 nights accommodation and an return economy airfare. And then a further 4 visits within the following 12 months, we subsidise at 50% of travel costs.
Yeah, so even though obviously it's £1,000 up front, you're getting that back, you're getting a lot for your money there, basically.
Exactly. I think, it's Going Dutch is Invest NI's flagship program for early stage exporters. And for that reason, it's very highly subsidized. It's probably one of our most highly subsidized programs.
Yeah, and there's a related one there as well. It's just come in. The next cohort, when's that planned for, Sandra?
Well, we are actually currently, we launched the recruitment event for the current cohort that we're recruiting for, and that information session took place last Tuesday, the 8th of June. So we've had a lot of interest in that that particular cohort, and that will run right through now until the market visit will take place in the middle of November. And really what we generally do is we evaluate that cohort at the end of November, and then in early December, we will launch then the next cohort. So we run back-to-back cohorts effectively, 2 per year. So we usually kind of around spring, summer launch one, and then autumn, winter launch another one. So for that next cohort that launches in early December, end of November, early December, that market visit will actually take place then in the middle of March.
Okay, no, thanks very much, Sandra. There's another one here on graduate. Can you apply for more than one graduate? Majella, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Glenn. Absolutely, yes, you can apply for more than one graduate. They would be treated as separate application forms, so you would have to submit more than one application. And on that application, you would have to have clearly defined those separate projects and how they're aligned to your company strategic direction. As we said before, it is a competitive process, but absolutely no problem in applying for more than one graduate.
Okay, thanks, Majella. One here for Janice on Grow Beyond. Do we all have to do the same thing? How does the program tailor my particular circumstances?
Thanks, Glenn. No, the program, there are 2 elements. I tend to think of the workshops as the what of the process of entering a new market, and then the mentoring is the how does that apply specifically to my business circumstances. So all of the program participants will work together through the workshops, and they're looking at the step-by-step process. And then the one-to-one mentoring is how does that apply? So that's bespoke because companies are at different stages of developing the market in GB or Republic of Ireland. So their needs are very different. They don't necessarily want to go through the same process. For example, they may be very comfortable with the market research that they have. They may be very clear on what market segments they want to target. And their focus is really more on the internal processes, management processes and setting up systems. So it really is just that's very much bespoke to the individual company's needs.
Okay, thanks, Janice, for that. There's one, Deborah, on the workshops themselves. How interactive are the workshops, or are they more like lectures?
Okay, Glenn, thank you. The workshops are very interactive. We keep the numbers relatively small. Anywhere from 5 to 15 is normally where we cap our numbers. They're closed workshops, they're not recorded, so they're very much an opportunity for companies to share their experience and to ask questions relevant to their business. What we also do as well, we work very closely with the experts who deliver the courses, and a few days before the course, we let them know who is coming along and from what companies, so that they can take a look at the type of clients or indeed non-clients. Anybody can go to these workshops that are coming along, and they can tailor the workshop to suit. Sometimes that actually even happens in the room on the day. All of our providers are very skilled at understanding what people are there and what their goals are on that day. So although we have core content that we cover in every workshop, some of it may be more or less relevant, and we tailor it as we go. So yes, they're very interactive. We certainly encourage peer-to-peer learning as well, and it's another opportunity for companies to network and to talk, not necessarily to other companies within the same sector. Our workshops are very wide, and we get such a wide range, large and small, from different sectors right across the province. But yes, they're very interactive. That's the way we like them, and certainly that's what we continue to encourage, that level of engagement.
Okay, thanks for that, Deborah. There's a question here which was pre-submitted as well. I'm looking at it's around meeting buyers and distributors in market, and it's also talking about I'll combine the both of them, identifying customers in export markets. I'll take that one if it's okay. InvestNI customers really can access support through the trade advisory service that we have, or we have in-market teams in various markets around our international network as well. Or if we don't have a presence in particular market, what we can do is we can work with their partners on your behalf through the Department for International Trade, And again, what we can do is we can look at that and see, is there any potential support that we can provide there for your business entering that market, or looking for a distributor, looking for customers in the market as well. But what I would advise you to do is have a chat with your client executive, or talk directly to our business support team. And what we'll do is we'll get one of our trade advisors to talk to you to see if we can help on that one. There's another one that's come in here on Grow Beyond. Does the Grow Beyond program help to plan or for doing business in GB and the ROI market? So I'm taking that as, does it help you develop a plan for that? Could I ask Jack, do you want the answer to that, Jack from Urban Scale?
Yeah, sure. I think for us, that's exactly what it did. We developed a plan for, particularly for the ROI market. So we looked at, we worked with the guys and the providers there in that kind of tailored process, I suppose, that we were just talking about, and they kind of tailored the needs to us. And we started to look at, right, where was our markets? And I think before we were looking really kind of scattergun at where there were opportunities, and it was everywhere from Portugal to Spain to Australia. And what it really helped us do is focus on, okay, there's a clear market actually in ROI, particularly for us. And here's a clear plan of action of how we can get to that market quite quickly and get to the right people, what timelines we need to work to, what opportunities there are, who we need to get in contact with. And so it really helped us to focus that through a plan, an action plan, basically, to get there.
Okay, thanks, Jack. There's a question as well that's just been submitted here. I've been told by experienced exporters to seek substantial payment up front before shipping any products. Does the panel have any advice on this, as it seems quite excessive? Anybody want to take that one? Or Janice, do you want to have a...
Well, yes, I think when you don't know a customer, it's a new customer, and you'll have done your due diligence and you'll have checked their credit worthiness and so on. But I think as an initial first point, you should try, if you possibly can, to get payment up front before you ship anything. There are obviously other methods that you can use to help protect getting paid, like letters of credit and so on. And your banks and so on can help with that. And again, that's just all about protecting your investment in producing the product and getting it shipped and making sure that you do actually get paid for it. Brian, do you have any specific experience of using things like letters of credit or the sort of negotiations that you've gone through with new customers that you're maybe not familiar with?
Yeah, well, we did significant credit checks on the potential customers that we were dealing with, and made sure that we did a pro forma first order, got paid up front for that, and then we phased that out over a number of months then as the next orders come in. So we sort of got paid for an order before we released another one. But we'd done our credit checks prior to that and industry checks to see that the people we're dealing with were credible businesses. There's also things like credit insurance you can look at to see, do you take specific credit insurance out for export business? But you just need to be very careful. And that was one of the things that we did when we looked at the list of people that we were approaching and wanted to speak to us. We made sure that there were genuine businesses and made sure that they had a history in the food industry in that market to make sure that they weren't just fly by night and we were going to get paid. So that is a big part of your selection process. And it's actually the hardest bit, is picking who you're going to work with on that basis to see, who am I likely to be doing business with? Am I going to get paid? And is it going to be a long-term relationship? So certainly pro forma is the way to go initially. And for us, that's my experience.
Okay, thanks for that, Brian. There's another one here on the practical export skills workshops. How many people are in each workshop? Do you want to take that one, Deborah?
Yes, certainly, Glenn. We normally run the workshops up to a maximum of 15 people and anywhere from 4 or 5 people. Any more than that, and we find it turns into more of a webinar or a lecture. It's more a telling rather than a sharing session. So we keep the numbers up. Probably the optimum is actually about 10 to 12. Many of you watching today's session, you will have seen a number of webinars that we've ran across the last year, and obviously those are to very large numbers, which is great, but the workshops are a different offering, and it's very much about the expert delivering the session, engaging with everybody in the room in a closed shop environment where people are comfortable to discuss and talk about their own experiences and where they need to grow and learn.
Okay, thanks for that, Deborah. Yeah. Gillian, there's one here maybe you want to take. Does TAS only cover GB and ROI, or is the service available in all our markets? And again, if you want to explain a wee bit about the charging seems to be a sort of a theme coming through here. So if you would like to take that one, Gillian?
Yes, no problem, Glenn. Yes, on the trade advisory service, we have it split into different markets. So I look after the trade advisory service for GB and ROI specifically. As Glenn mentioned earlier, we also have the rest of world TAS service, and that's delivered by other consultants and our own staff who are all based in market. The charge across the board for accessing TAS services is £125 a day plus VAT. That means on TAS GB ROI, for example, you have a maximum of 10 days support that you can draw down on. So your costs would be up to £1,250 plus VAT. What we tend to find is that the average number of days required for a particular project is around about 8 days, but it can really be anywhere between 1 and 10 days. On the rest of world, TAS, again, the same charge of £125 a day plus VAT, but you're able to draw down up to 20 days support under that. Hope that answers the question.
Yep, no, that's great. Thanks for that, Gillian. We've had one as well submitted here about support available for advice on European Green Deal. I wouldn't have the specific details on that at hand at the minute, but what I would say, we'd be happy to talk to you about what challenges you're facing, and we're happy to either send post you or see if there's any support that we can provide on that. So if you want to send in your details, please feel free to do that. And what we'll do is we'll get one of the team to contact you and have a chat with you about that to see what support you need in that. Let's just check and see if there's any other questions coming in at the minute. Sandra, is there anything else you want to add to Go in Dutch?
I just wanted to mention there earlier on, as Brian and Janice had mentioned there about doing your due diligence in terms of, new customers and overseas markets and so on. I just really wanted to highlight that our Business Information Centre, it's normally located on the ground floor at Invest NI's headquarters in Bedford Street. They are still working remotely. We offer companies, particularly selling into a new market, one free full in-depth credit check through, I think it's Dun & Bradstreet, free of charge. Like that normally costs about £120, and we offer that free of charge. I think one anyway, for a company, and I certainly would be promoting that to companies to participate on Go in Dutch, and they're certainly seriously considering, a new partner in the Dutch market. And then also we have, I'm not sure who the provider is, but we do have a database or a provider that we can do a basic credit check on, and that's free of charge, and there's no limit on those. But if you need a really in-depth one, we can use Dun & Bradstreet. So I would suggest, you talk to your international trade advisor within the trade team, and we can organize that for you, no problem.
Okay, thanks very much, Sandra, for adding that in. There doesn't seem to be any other questions coming through. I see we're at the 15-minute at now. So, if everybody's happy enough, we'll just conclude our webinar and the question and answer session. I would just like to thank everyone for attending. A special thank you to all the businesses who've given up their time to share their experience of working with Invest NI. That's very much appreciated. If you have any questions, please talk directly to your client executive or make contact with our business support team at Invest NI. Many thanks again for attending today's webinar, and we'll maybe run a few more webinars in the future. Thanks very much. Bye.